Bitcoin and where does it get its value from? It's sort of similar to like where does gold or a fiat currency get its value from? To some extent, it's our collective imagination. It's us all agreeing that this is the thing we're going to ascribe value to, and it being a good enough functional product to be able to hold that value. That's sort of the answer for Bitcoin. I think when you look at some smart contract chains like Ethereum, part of the answer is it's the world's global decentralized computer where you can submit your own custom code to it, and the blockchain will run that code and it will run your applications for you in a decentralized way. And so it gets its value to some extent from its ability to successfully run those programs. And then, you can look at Dogecoin and like, where does it get its value from? And I think the answer is, I don't know, where did GameStop get its value from? Like, where does Tesla get some of its value from? You can call it a meme stock, you can call it an altcoin, you call it a shitcoin, you can call it what you want, but it has value. If people give it value, then it has value. That's what value means. Deny that at your own risk.
Does the value evaporate once people are off it if it's not based on something tangible, isn't it? That's, absolutely. I guess, what's hard to get your head around.
It totally could. And I think that because of that, if it's not based on something tangible, you have to have a sense of, are people going to give up on it? There's the same thing with gold, right? Gold's value would evaporate if everyone got bored of gold. People probably won't get totally bored of it. They might get somewhat. And I think that, with these things, you have to decide, like, is this a flash in the pan? Or is this something the world is going to remain excited about and maybe even get more excited about over time? It's not always obvious, but I think that's a lot of what determines what the real value should be of a token. I think that one thing that's going on here, and I don't know for sure, but my best guess is that people just don't think far enough in advance. And that people basically think like, well, how many transactions do I want to send? How many transactions does each network has? Which have enough? Great, let's go with these. And what they don't think is, in 6 years, like specifically selecting for the cases that matter the most, specifically selecting for the cases where crypto gets huge, how many transactions am I going to want to send? And what is able to scale up to that? And that just gets you very different answers to run the applications that exist in decentralized finance. But I don't know, how many tweets do you think there are a second? How many trades are there on the New York Stock Exchange per second? How many Facebook likes are there per second? How many Visa payments are there per second? You can look at all these things in the real world, and when you have 1 billion users, it turns out you often have like a 50,000 to 5 million transactions a second. Is like sort of the sweet spot for like global scale programs. And almost no blockchains even have it in their roadmap to eventually get up to anything close to that. And so even if many of them can scale to what we have right now, most of them cannot scale to where things are supposed to go. And that's like kind of a big deal. And when you hear people talking about it, they don't talk about it as if that's going to be important to get there. It's just not part of their mental picture of things. And I think that's a big oversight a lot of people have had, is just thinking too short term in terms of what the demand is going to be.
What are the currencies to watch? Like, Bitcoin's had a boom, Ethereum's rocketed in the last year. What crypto should everyone know the name of?
Dogecoin. Everyone already knows that name, but you should. It's just like, I don't know how it's going to go in the end, but you know how Time has that like person of the year thing? If there's like an asset of the year for 2020 and 2021, it would be Dogecoin. That is the asset that accurately reflects our current economic climate. That is the asset that we have all chosen and that we deserve, for better or for worse. And I don't say that as an endorsement or an anti-endorsement of it. I'm not trying to take a position on it. I'm just saying everything we as a society have decided over the last year has been dragging us closer and closer to the Dogecoin financial standard. The goodbye or sell here, you have to decide whether we've chosen it more or less than the amount it's already appreciated. I don't know. What have we done as a society that makes, when did we swipe right on Dogecoin? Elon is actually a powerful piece of this. He is the most influential man in the world when it comes to, his tweets move markets. He chose Dogecoin, and no one was surprised. Everyone kind of knew he'd choose Dogecoin, right? It's not like you're like, oh, geez, that's what he chose. You're like, okay, no, obviously, actually, in retrospect, that's what he's gonna, right? And we chose Elon, right? We signed up for this, right? We signed up for some amount of self-aware mockery, for some amount of, a sense of humor, and for some amount of challenging norms and saying, okay, but seriously, maybe what makes your thing better than Dogecoin? No, really answer me that. yes, I realize it's a meme. My question still stands. I think that when you look at what happened on GameStop Day, like the only surprising thing was that it wasn't a cryptocurrency, because that pattern just happens all the time in crypto. It's not unusual. And the moment that Robinhood banned buying of GameStop, do you know what happened? Hundreds of millions of dollars flowed instantly into Dogecoin, directly out of GameStop into Dogecoin, because those are the same type of asset. People see those very similarly. Right, if you really drill into why were people buying GameStop, combined with a little bit of like, look, you think that this thing is cheap? I don't think you understand markets. You know, I think we understand something you don't, which is that if we all get together on social media and decide with our collective imagination that this thing has value.
What separates it from other coins?
It is, as one of my colleagues and friends put it, objectively the funniest cryptocurrency. That's what separates it. It's not the tech. No one thinks it's the tech. No one even tries to argue it's the tech. No one who's buying it buys it for the tech or the product or the roadmap. They buy it because it's the funny looking dog. And you know what the cool thing is? There's no fucking Dogecoin company. They don't hire anyone to market it. The founder gave up on the cryptocurrency a decade ago. Not a decade, but like 5 years ago. Like,
right.
Who's their marketeer? It's Elon Musk, and it's Reddit, and it's Twitter. Right? And it's just a bunch of people getting together. It's memes, right? Like, what's their most powerful brand? It's that picture of like the kind of like cloud coming over the city with like the Dogecoin face. And it's like, you know, the
reminds
Dogecoin.
me of Scooby-Doo, Sam.
Completely agree. It could have been Scooby Coin, but it's not just Dogecoin, right? How about like, what is Elon Musk's best product? What is the most valuable product that he has built?
His voice.
His voice.
His brand.
Yeah. It ain't his product,
the ticker
right?
TSLA, right? That, like, the ticker TSLA is worth so much more than electric cars. And
for sure.
You know,
what's the ticker TSLA?
Tesla.
Oh, yeah. Oh, got you.
Yeah, it's just like, right, you see this all over the place, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger part of our financial ecosystem, because for the first time, you know, you look historically about what could cause something to massively appreciate in price, and there are basically two things. Either it has to just be a company that makes so much money it's paying huge dividends, or the global wealth management platforms had to get together and decide that it was a great company and they're going to put all their funds money into it, right? And those are both sort of like not going to buy Dogecoin, right? Those aren't the force. And there's nothing else big enough to make something be worth a ton. And what's happened this last decade is social media. All of a sudden, for the first time, 10 million people all across the world can get together and tweet at each other and you know, agree via posting memes on Reddit and Twitter about what they're into, and they can coordinate, not explicitly even, just implicitly, and you put those 10 million people together, and even if they only have $1,000 each, that's $10 billion of inflows, and that rivals the inflows that you get from the biggest institutions in the world.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you have this global decentralized network of, you know, bored people at home on their computers who collectively are, you know, the biggest pension fund, the biggest mutual fund, the biggest ETF in the world. They don't have the same, you know, fiduciary duty to shareholders that Fidelity has. They don't have the same institutional history. They can buy whatever the they want, and if they want to buy a Dogecoin, they're going to buy a fucking Dogecoin.